G'day and welcome to this video tutorial with Virtual Racing School regarding race starts in the iRacing Supercar series. It's a question that comes up a lot in the community and in the VRS Discord on how to best get the V8 Supercar off the line in iRacing, as there's many different techniques to do it. I'm not the greatest starter in the world, however I have worked at it and tried to formulate a starting procedure that is fairly consistent. Basically, there are two main ways to go about a start in the Supercar, so we'll go through both of those ways for you in this video tutorial. So the first way that I'm going to go through regarding the starting procedure is a way that you will need to use in a series where you can actually stall the car. So in a series such as the Scops series, you cannot have anti-stall enabled, so the starting procedure will be very important, because if you get it wrong, you will definitely stall the car if you drop the revs too much and you don't get a good launch. So very important, this one, because this is the one that you really need to know in every series to make sure that you're going to be well prepped. So the car has a line lock function, so I set that to a button on my wheel. For me, it's the right hand button on the wheel. I've got a custom wheel, so I just have it in an easily accessible place that I can hold the button quite comfortably. So when the lights come up for the start of the race, you will hold that line lock button, have the clutch fully depressed, and bring the revs up to the rev limiter. So depending on your gear ratio is going to depend on how much throttle percentage you use. So at Road America, we have 1.0 as the rear end ratio in the car. So I've worked out that my throttle position that I'm going to need to use, and I use that here on the dash of the car. It doesn't actually show properly in the replay, but I use that for the start of the races, and I work out where my throttle position should be. So I found at this track somewhere between about 75 to 80% throttle position is where I want to be. So you've brought the revs up, you've got your throttle positioned at about 75 to 80%. And at that point, you've got the car on the line locker, so you can now load it up on the clutch. So I bring the clutch out to the bite point and then have it sitting at 75, 80% throttle with the clutch at bite point, which is around about 35%, and have the car pulling on that line locker. And then it's just a matter of when the lights go green, release the line lock, and you should get a pretty good start. Now, as I said, that's going to depend, that throttle position is going to depend on what your rear end ratio is, what the temperature you're racing is, but you'll need to practice that and go through it. So I'm going to play this start through from the cockpit and leave the HUD here so you can watch the pedals. So see here, that would be the equivalent of the lights coming up. Now I have the line locker enabled here, and I've brought the throttle percentage up to that range. I have the clutch fully enabled still at this point. Now I release the clutch to its bite point there. The car is now pulling on its clutch there, so it's at the bite point, it's ready to go. The only thing stopping it from going at this point is that line locker. So I have it there at that point, lights go green, and away we go there to start. You can see through that start, I hold that percentage right to the point where I get to the top of the first gear range, and then just drive it away nice and carefully to try and avoid wheel spin. Now, the other way to do it is the way that has anti-stall clutch enabled, so you don't have to worry about stalling the car. Now, this one is a procedure that gets used by many in the community. It's a lot more consistent than the first way. The first way, you can either get an absolute blinder of a start, or you can really struggle to get it off the line. I'll show the differences after we go through it to see what you can, what gain you can get with the other method. But with this method, you pretty much guarantee yourself a good start every time, but it's not ever going to be a fantastic start, so you're rarely going to make masses of ground. So with this one, you just hold the line locker. You don't have to worry about stalling the car, so hold the line locker and hold the throttle. You don't have to worry about the clutch. So all you're going to do here is you're just going to drive the car away. So You see here, come up to the line. So hold the line locker, hold the throttle, and away we go. You just drop that line locker and you're gone. No wheel spin. So line lock, throttle, drop the line locker away, and away we go. Nice, easy start down towards turn 1 with very limited wheel spin. So very easy start to do. Tends to work well on most ratios. The only one where it can be a problem is one of the, I think the shortest ratio of the car you can get wheel spin. But you can still obviously do a similar method to this. You just use less throttle. So the key to looking at these two starts, I've got these pictures side by side, and see this crack in the road here in the pictures. On the start where I used the clutch method, where I had to bring the throttle to 80% or so and the clutch to 35% or so, you can see there that I've reached 100 kilometers an hour roughly a couple of meters before that crack in the road. Now, obviously the variation in those starts will impact that, but if you can get a good start here, you will get a few extra meters gain. When you look at the other picture, which is the second start I did, which was just to drive it away on the line lock with no clutch, you can see that I didn't get to 100 Ks until a couple of meters later. I was pretty much in line with that crack. Now that might not sound like much, but if you can get the jump by a couple of meters on a run that long into turn 1 down the track here at Road America, you can make a spot or lose a spot. That can sometimes be the difference to starting your race. So that's a look at two start methods that I use depending on the series that you're in. Select the one which you're most happy with, but if you have any more questions or if I didn't cover anything off well enough, feel free to shout out and I'll look to resolve any questions you have.